Director General Sri Ben Herika. Thank you, ma'am, Richa for inviting me. And thanks to all of you for joining us because it's a very damp day in Hyderabad. It's a very wet day in Hyderabad. A lot of people complaining in Twitter, a lot of people complaining elsewhere on how waterlogged roads are, etc., etc. But thank you for showing up. Thank you for expressing your affection towards Mr. Abhay Tripathi. Richa, I seriously wonder now, because you asked me in the last 5 minutes at least 10 questions. I wonder how many questions you used to ask Abhay every day. Uh, must have been quite a few. And also when you said, he's a batch of 86, you kept saying team of 86, batch of 86. I remember, that movie, 83, right, the World Cup. So this is sort of, giving me a bit of sort of a reminder that there are batches in IAS officers, they flock together, they do well. So compliments to all of you, sir. Mr. Tiwari, Mr. Narsingh Rao, to everybody else, Sam Shuragaru and Satish Chandraji, to Mr. Tripathi and everybody else who's part of the batch. Glad you also asked all the right questions, but I wish you had said our city and our state as opposed to saying your city and your state. Because I would like to believe that this city belongs to all of us, not any one in particular. So therefore, I think once you've made this your home, because what is a migrant? Who is a migrant, for that matter? I mean, my father has migrated from Siddipet to Hyderabad. Mr. Tripathi has migrated probably from the northern part of India, from Uttar Pradesh or, I'm guessing, Ujjain, Madhya Pradesh. Ranchi, so northern part of India. So the thing is, end of the day, if you look at the Hakiki Hyderabadis, the original Hyderabadis, the true blood, the true blue Hyderabadis who were born, raised here, versus anybody who's moved here, I think majority of them, in fact, would be from outside of this city. Somebody could be from 50 kilometers away, somebody could be from 1,000 kilometers away, but essentially it's a city full of migrants. And if you look at any developed world, any part of the developed world, be it the US, be it Europe, be it any part, I think, in fact, just this afternoon, I was browsing, on my phone, on YouTube, an ad popped up inviting people to come work in Germany. An ad in YouTube inviting Indians to come and work in Germany. So the point is, I think immigrants, especially hardworking immigrants with skills, with a lot of, fire in their belly is what make cities great, what make countries great, what makes states great. So I can't thank enough to all the immigrants who have come here, made Hyderabad and Telangana their home, and who have contributed immensely. Thank you, and I think they deserve a big round of applause before we begin. So, Richa said, why not economics? When she called me and when she invited me to this lecture, I said, economics, how am I related? She said, but that's what the theme is, so you have to figure out, come talk to us about economics, tell us all about what your state has been doing. So, I thought to myself, good economics is good politics, and being a good politician, I thought I'll take this as an opportunity to present to you this case of Telangana, which I call the most successful startup state of independent India. Because since 1950s, since independence, in fact, after 1947, there have been a number of states that have been formed. After the first State Reorganization Commission was constituted back in early 50s, and after the first set of states were formed on linguistic basis in 1950s, since then, till now, till 2014, number of new states have been created. Most recently, if you have to look at this millennium, starting with Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh in 2001, and in 2014, Andhra and Telangana. So in this millennium itself, we've had 5. In the last one, we've had the remaining states. So altogether in India right now, we have 28 states. Now, what sets Telangana different? What are the challenges that Telangana has had to face as a young state? I think I'd dwell on that a bit. What happens is, the context of the formation of each state is very different from the other. So if you look at Uttarakhand or Jharkhand or Chhattisgarh, I know that there was a protracted struggle in Jharkhand led by Sri Shibu Sorenji and his party, the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha. But Chhattisgarh and Uttarakhand, in fact, were formed more for administrative convenience, more for, I think, more to give company to Jharkhand, in a way, if I have to say that, in 2001. But in the case of Telangana, this state was formed after a very, very hard-fought protracted struggle which lasted for decades. Yes, there were highs, there were lows, there were a number of times when it was deemed a lost cause, but eventually in 2001, when our current Chief Minister, Honorable Shri KCR, formed his political outfit called as the Telangana Rashtra Samiti, he had given a clarion call. He said this would be the last opportunity for the formation of the state, and he would go around sensitizing. He took that Ambedkar philosophy, fight, unite, and strive. He took it very, very seriously. As an Ambedkarite, he actually strived very hard for about 14 years. He did everything in his capacity to sensitize people, to agitate when there was a need, to actually make it a very important cause for the entire political spectrum in India. Eventually in 2014, I don't want to go into the nitty-gritties of what happened between 2001 to 2014 because it's all water under the bridge. There's a number of things that I can talk about, but I would rather not go there. I'll talk about what happened after formation of Telangana. In 2014, the people of Telangana, by way of their struggle, by way of their democratic spirit, have conferred a compulsion on the political system in India. It was not that Congress was very keenly wanting to deliver in Telangana. It was not that BJP was wholeheartedly supporting Telangana. It was that both UPA and NDA were compelled and were left with no choice, literally, given the political considerations, to concede and to deliver the state of Telangana. But like Richa said, when the state of Telangana was eventually formed on the 2nd of June 2014, there were lots of doubts. There were lots of rumors. There were lots of hearsays. There were lots of apprehensions. A lot of people wondering what would happen next. And adding to this, adding fuel to the fire, I think I can't blame media, but I have to say this. I see some friends from media. Please don't get me wrong when I say this and don't misquote me and kind of chastise me tomorrow, but I'll have to say this. After the advent of 24/7 electronic media especially, there wasn't a single day in my memory from 2009 to 14 when the issue of Telangana was not debated or not actually was beaten to death. Every aspect, every single aspect with respect to formation of Telangana, would it be a viable state? Would the leadership here have it in them to actually make it a successful state? Would this state actually survive? What would happen to the migrant population? What would happen to Andhras? What would happen to Rayalaseemas? What would happen to the Kannadigas, the Maharashtrians, everybody who's settled here, who's made Hyderabad their home? What would happen to the Hyderabadi cosmopolitan fabric? All these questions were asked. There was even rumors that this would become a hot den for Naxalites. There were even rumors that the feudals would return and Telangana would once again go back to 1950s and 1940s, and it would literally become one of the most backward states in India. These were all the things that were floated, all the theories, all the nonsense that was said about Telangana. Today I stand here proudly, representing the state of Telangana, being a responsible minister in the government, and being a responsible citizen of this state. I want to list out to you all the achievements that this state has accomplished. Like I said, we focused on one basic thing. Good economics is good politics. As long as you create wealth, as long as you make sure that the poorest of the poor in the society are taken care of, as long as you ensure that the wealth that gets distributed equitably, without depriving anybody, without any depravity, I think you would have done your job. Our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri KCR, he's a man who's learned it the hard way in life, that suppression of excellence is something that is done as a matter of routine. He's had to fight his way up all along his life. He's never had anything which kind of helped him politically, meaning, especially in the politics, because you said politicians have thick skin, you also said bureaucrats have thick skin, so I have to kind of refer you, to that comment of yours. Yes, you have to develop a thick skin to survive in this. Unfortunately, whether we like it or not, there is a lot of mediocrity that you have to put up with. Unfortunately, whether I like it or not, there are a lot of legacy processes, legacy issues in place which I can't simply negate or overlook or eclipse and say that, I can dispense away with that. You inherit them. These are challenges that you inherit. But end of the day, I think what matters is how well you work. In the case of Telangana, coming back to the challenges of being a young state, In the case of Telangana, when it was formed, the expectation of the people of Telangana was sky high. You know, what happens is, a Chhattisgarh or a Uttarakhand where the people weren't fighting or were wanting a state versus a state of Telangana where people were actually giving up their lives. We had young students immolating themselves, setting themselves up in fire, trying to make a point. We've had a gentleman called Yadi Reddy who traveled all the way to Delhi to commit suicide in front of Parliament. So this was an emotional battle. This was not a simple statehood battle. This was a battle where each and every person, who was fighting for the cause, took it to his heart, her heart, and actually really staked everything to make it happen. So what happens essentially when that is the mood prevalent? The expectations are high. So when we started as a young state, our chief minister said, the tagline of the movement for the state was justice in water resources, justice in fund allocation, and justice in employment. Neelu, Nidhulu, Niyamakalu, in Telugu if I have to put it. So this was the fundamental thing that we focused on. Back in 2014, when we started our journey, and most bureaucrats who are seated here, most economists who are seated here, or the journalists seated here would tell you, that for any government to start making plans, for any government to start working on something or working towards an outcome or a goal, you would need planning, of course, but planning can only happen in the presence or with the backing of good statistics. Mr. Joshi is here. He worked as our chief secretary. He would know, he would tell you. Mr. Tiwari is also here. Mr. Mishra is here. Ajay Mishra ji is also here. All of them worked with our chief minister very closely, and they would tell you. When the Honorable Chief Minister initially started laying out plans and he started saying planning is important, statistics is important, data is important, so get me accurate information, accurate data. And when we were trying to understand where do I get this data, unfortunately there wasn't much available. You will be surprised when I say this, and I don't want to demean or insult anybody or insult or even cast aspersions on how the governments in the past were run, but the fact is there wasn't enough data to make empirical, decisions, make sure that we work towards a specific outcome. But I'll give you examples. So I was the Minister for Rural Water Supply in 2014. I was Minister for Panchayati Raj and Rural Water Supply. So Honorable Chief Minister decided that we will become the first state in India, because he had done this in his constituency, Siddipet, back in late 90s. He had provided a potable drinking water connection to each and every home in his constituency. Almost, I think, about 50,000-60,000 households. And this was late 90s. So he said, if I could do that as a legislator in Siddipet, why can't I do the same thing as a chief minister across the state of Telangana? So he wanted me to get the data on the pipes laid in the rural, setting, in the villages, number of overhead service reservoirs built, when were they built, which year were they built, the number of pipeline laid, what shape are they in, when were they laid, is there like a map, is there an inventory, etc., etc. So I sat with my team, my engineering department, my engineering chief, and the entire rural water supply department. You would not believe it if I said this. Honestly, they said, sir, the data goes only as back as 1980s. What happened prior to that, we really don't know, because there's no bookkeeping, there's no information, so I can't really give you that information. I'm just giving you this one example of one department where I worked. Even in Hyderabad, and you'd be probably amused and I'd be trolled if I said this, but I'll say it. I've become thick-skinned, like I said. When we started looking at all the data of the Hyderabad Metro Water Supply and Sewerage Board, when were the pipes laid, what should be replaced and what should be strengthened, what should be laid afresh, etc. Unfortunately, again, the data only goes so far. We don't have adequate data. Leave all that aside. Some things are even more interesting. See, back in 1980s, when Sri N.T. Ramarao was the chief minister, the then government had launched a program called as Housing for the Weaker Sections. And since then, every successive government following N.T. Ramaraoji's footsteps had also continued the program, had built houses. So we just, for our own understanding in 2014, we looked at the number of houses that were built in the state of Telangana alone. between N.T. Ramarao ji's time and KCR ji's time. There were a number of chief ministers, number of governments between 83 and 2014, almost 31 years. You'll not believe this. According to the data available with the government back then in 2014, more than 65 lakh houses were built. The total population of the state itself is 3 crores. And 65 lakh houses have already been built. So our chief minister asked, then why would there be any new demand? Why are you saying there would be any more new demand at all? If this was all true and if this was all accurate and if the books were kept properly, how is this even right? So just to give you examples. So all of this was the situation when we started our journey in 2014. On top of this, each and every time there is a bifurcation. See, even in a household, a joint family, when there is a split, when there are two brothers split, who gets what, who gets to keep what, who gets to have the silverware, who gets to have, the debt, etc., etc. That's always a battle, right? So power, electricity was a huge challenge. I think Mishra ji worked as, the special chief secretary for power as well, so he would know. Who gets which project? Because, Telangana was predominantly consuming more power because we had 30 lakh plus tube wells, bore wells. So we had electricity dependent agriculture here. So we needed more power. Likewise, who gets the rightful share in water in Godavari, Krishna? Because, like I said, when the two states split, prior to that we had Bachawat Tribunal. We've had other tribunals giving out allocations in river waters. But who gets to keep what in river water? Who gets to keep what in electricity? Who gets to keep what in the joint institutions, including possibly the one we are sitting in? So who gets to keep what and who gets to take what? I think that was one big challenge that we had to answer right at the onset. And on top of this, there were a number of promises made by the union government. In the Reorganization Act of the state, there were a number of promises made. There were promises to kickstart and jumpstart rapid industrialization, so therefore promised special incentives to industries and industrial corridors being set up in both states, Andhra and Telangana. There were promises of a steel factory being set up at Bayaram because there was enough iron ore, quality iron ore through Steel Authority of India. There was also a promise to set up a locomotive coach factory in Kajipet. There was a promise to make one of our projects, irrigation projects, a national project. There were several other promises that were also made as part of the State Reorganization Act. So the lack of data, the lack of clarity, the fight that goes on with respect to who gets what in terms of water, in terms of power, in terms of other resources, and more importantly, a very inimical, I'm not even saying a non-cooperative, uncooperative union government, but a very inimical, extremely negative union government, which does not believe in the spirit of federalism. They talk about Team India, cooperative federalism, but it's all lip service. They don't really believe in any of that. They'd want the hegemony of union government to continue. They'd want states to be at their mercy. They'd want to basically dominate you in every which way. That's the attitude. So this is the context of when we started our journey. So what did we do so far in 9 years? What did we accomplish? Since this is economics and since this is Abhay Tripathi Memorial Lecture, and Mr. Tripathi, I have learned, was a man of numbers and who worked on taxation, who's brought in a number of reforms in the way the tax department used to work. So let me share with you a few numbers. Back in 2014, when we started our journey, our state's per capita was 1,12,000 rupees. But as of March 31st this year, in 2023, our state has the highest per capita in the country. It's 3,17,000. So starting from 112 to 317. The gross state domestic product of the state of Telangana back in 2014 was 5,05,000 crore. Now, as of March 31st this year, it is 13.27 lakh crore. Highest growth for any state in India. Likewise, I can give you a number of other sectors, but what's more important? How did you achieve this? How did this happen? Why are other states not doing it, etc., etc., are the typical questions that we keep running into. We stuck to the fundamentals. We focused on getting our basics right. We started our journey as a power deficit state. We had only 8,700 megawatts of installed capacity in the state of Telangana. Today, I'm proud to share with you, we have more than 18,000 megawatts of installed capacity, and it is going to grow up to almost 26,000 megawatts come next year. So we have started our journey as a power deficit state, but today we are a proud power surplus state, and eventually we'll be supplying power to other deficit states in days to come, years to come. Not only power, water. There is no other state in India which has done the kind of work that Telangana has done in water. Now, water, as we all know, is the elixir of life. It empowers everybody, irrespective of who you are. Today, why do we not find any habitation on Mars? Lack of water. Had there been water, I'm sure there would be real estate guys selling plots on Mars and Moon as well. I'm serious. I'm sure there are some people who are already doing that, because Telugus are now dominating Texas as well. I just came off a meeting from a guy from Texas. He was telling me that in Dallas we have 900 Indian restaurants, and Telugus are literally ruling the roost, and we are doing real estate all over Texas as well. Water is the elixir of life. It really is what survives humanity. It really is what helps a city grow, a state grow, and a nation grow. So we have taken it very seriously to ensure that every trickle, every drop of water that is rightfully allocated to Telangana gets utilized properly and judiciously. So we have not only ensured that the 46,000 lakes and tanks in Telangana are given the much needed fillip through Mission Kakatiya. We have strengthened these lakes, tanks. We have done it in a mission mode and ensured that every drop of water that trickles in benefits not only that village, but the entire groundwater table around in the surrounding habitations as well. We also have ensured that not just these small resources, but also the large resources that we need, because River Godavari and Krishna run at a much lower, contour compared to the entire state of Telangana. Hyderabad as a city is at 535 meters above sea level. The highest mount in Telangana is at 650 meters, whereas Godavari runs at about 80-90 meters above sea level. So the only way we can actually, use this water and bring this water to our barren fields is by way of lifting them through multiple stages. That's exactly what we have done. People talk about China. People talk about Three Gorges and how well the Chinese work, how quickly they move, how quickly they get things done, etc., etc. But it's unfortunate that not many of us know. And I would appreciate it if you actually Google after you go home, or even now if you want. You can Google and you can just type in the world's largest lift irrigation project. It is in Telangana. The project is called Kaleshwaram, where we lift water from 80 meters above sea level all the way up to 618 meters. Now this project alone provides water for irrigation, water for farmers to about 45 lakh acres. It provides for drinking water needs of Hyderabad. It also has 15% earmarked for industrial consumption. And this is literally a lifeline for the entire northern part of Telangana. Likewise, we have another project ongoing called as Palamuru Rangareddy lift irrigation. Now this is another lifeline for the entire south of Telangana, southern Telangana, which reeled under tremendous drought, which reeled under tremendous distress, and which was actually a sort of a synonym for migration of workers, Palamuru especially, Mahbubnagar especially. But today with Palamuru Rangareddy lift irrigation, it almost has reached now the final lap, and we are looking to ensure that this project gets completed in the next few months, probably by October. Once that is done, you would see water flowing to about 12.5 lakh acres of land for one crop cycle if you take it, and if you take two crop cycles, it would be 25 lakh acres. Just to give you numbers again, since this is economics. Back in 2014, our total agriculture produce, we have our agriculture secretary also sitting here, Mr. Raghunandan Rao. Our total agriculture produce, and especially on paddy, we used to procure about 68 lakh metric tons of paddy in 2014. But as of this year, the procurement rose to 3.5 crore metric tons. Telangana was ranked number 24 among Indian states in paddy production. This year, we are ranked number 2, second only to Punjab. Number 1, I'm sorry, we are ranked number 1, surpassing Punjab. So we have literally become the rice bowl of India. So that is the transformation that this focus on water has helped. Not only have we become the first state in India to give a portable drinking water connection to each and every home, we have secured the water needs of Hyderabad city as well. Hyderabad drinking water needs have been taken care of till the year 2052 by way of bringing water from Krishna and Godavari. Of course, The dream is to improve. The dream is to come from alternate day supply to every day and ensure that eventually we get to a stage, where like the first world where you get 24/7 water as well. That's the dream. So water has been a very, very important subject, and we've done some amazing things, and we've inspired the nation. Today, after Telangana has completed Mission Bhagirath, Government of India has woken up after several years and has started a new project called as Har Ghar Jal, Jal Jeevan Mission, which is good because, we need to learn from each other. And now they've also embarked on this mission. Gujarat, I'm told, is also there. Goa, I'm told, also has completed 100%. Very proud. As an Indian, as a fellow Indian, as a citizen, I think nothing makes me more proud. Because I remember there was a time when I was a student, there was a saying. People used to say, what Bengal does today, India does tomorrow. Today I can stand here proudly and say what Telangana does today, India does tomorrow. And that is what has been the hallmark of this government. Not only in water. We have done exceptionally well in making sure that even fiscal prudence has been taken into account. A lot of people accuse us of a lot of things. But I can tell you with a lot of confidence, the way we have leveraged the economy, the way the GSDP kept growing, the way the per capita kept growing, has given us scope to raise debt. Has given us scope to raise debt and invest in infrastructure. A lot of people, make a hue and cry, especially the opposition in my state. Every day they keep making a point, or trying to keep making a point, that you've made the state a debt-ridden state. Let me tell you a quick example. There was a time, I am 47, Richa called me young, but I'm not young at all. In fact, I'm going through a midlife crisis as we speak. There was a time in my prior generation, or in my father's generation, so if I have to put it more succinctly, where the thinking used to be, even if you're a bureaucrat, the thinking used to be, by the time I retire from my service, I should be able to have a house in Prashasan Nagar or wherever you can afford, and maybe build a house. And by the time I retire, I move from a government bungalow, government quarter, I go to, go and retire into a house of my own. That was the thinking. But take a step back and think for a minute. That was the thinking of the prior generation, where people used to be hesitant even to raise a debt. But today, a young guy or a young girl gets a new job in the IT sector here in Hyderabad or Bangalore. What is the first thing they do? They actually pay a fat check. They take a fat paycheck, go to the bank, raise a loan, buy a home, buy a car, in the very first month or second month. So what changed? What changed is this thinking of the typical Indian thinking that there was, say, a few decades ago, that we have to save pie by pie, पैसा पैसा जोड़ के, ultimately एक घर खरीदना है. तेलुगु में एक कहावत है, क्योंकि ज़्यादातर लोग यहाँ तेलुगु समझते हैं इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ. इल्लू कट्टी चूड़ू पेल्ली चेसी चूड़ू. मतलब ये हुआ कि घर बना के देखो, शादी करके देखो. दोनों भी बहुत जिंदगी में बहुत मतलब टफ चैलेंजेस है. ये कहावत थी, इसीलिए कहावत वहाँ से आई. सवाल ये था कि किसी आदमी को अगर अपना मकान बनाना था, एक घर बनाना था, क्यों उसको मतलब 50 साल पैसा एक पैसा जोड़ के बनाना होता था? क्योंकि हमारी माइंडसेट, हमारी कल्चर ऐसी थी, कंडीशनिंग ऐसी थी कि भाई कुछ भी करो बट कर्ज मत उठाओ, कुछ भी करो, जिंदगी में किसी के आभारी नहीं रहना है, कुछ भी करो, बचपन से सिखाया जाता है. बट द फैक्ट इज, इफ यू लुक एट मोस्ट डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज इन द वर्ल्ड, who do we think are the most developed countries in the world? The United States, Germany, Japan. The top 3 economies are US, China and Japan. Just look at US. Their debt GDP ratio is 116%. The debt GDP ratio of Japan is more than 200%. The debt GDP ratio of India as a country is 59%. The debt GDP ratio of Telangana is 25%. My point is, if you look at 28 states in India and rank them on a debt GSDP ranking, we are ranked in the top, bottom 5. Ranked in the bottom 5. If you ask me, we haven't leveraged our economy enough. What matters is you raise a debt, but where do you invest it? If you raise a debt and invest into ramping up your power infrastructure, moving from a power deficit state to a power sufficient or power surplus state, would that be a wrong investment? Would that not attract more industry? Would that not attract more and more investment? Would that not create more wealth? If you actually invest, if you raise a debt and invest in drinking water needs of the state, are you not cutting down on the out-of-pocket expenditure for health? Are you not cutting down on all the typical, news that you would, see in a winter season or a rainy season, at the onset of a monsoon? In Telugu, every newspaper used to write, I remember as a kid, Mansam Pattina Manyam, agencylo anturogalu. Matlab infectious diseases, waterborne diseases, which were rampant in the agency areas and tribes and even the habitations, in rural habitations. Just with one project called Mission Bhagirath, where we invested 40,000 plus crores, today we've been able to take care of all of that healthcare concerns. We've been able to cut down out-of-pocket expenditure for our people, and we've done a magnificent job of becoming truly an aspirational state for the rest of India. Likewise, when we took a project loan and have committed and invested in a project like Kaleshwaram, which, as Richa said, has created wealth outside of Hyderabad, because she was pointing out this lopsided development or lopsided focus on Hyderabad, does it help in the long run? No, it doesn't. Of course you have to decentralize. Of course you have to industrialize in other pockets. Of course you have to focus on rural livelihoods. Of course you have to create avenues to create wealth outside of Hyderabad. Unless you do that, people are going to migrate, people are going to urbanize, people are going to suburbanize. That is a fact. So what have we done with that money that we have raised as a debt? Where did we invest? We have invested in power, infrastructure, not power for us, but power infrastructure. We have invested in drinking water infrastructure. We have invested in infrastructure for irrigation. We have invested in industrial infrastructure. After having invested in these rural areas, let me give you an example of what we've accomplished. If somebody was to ask me today, what is the Telangana model? If you have to define in one sentence, I will tell you. Telangana model is unique, it's holistic, it's integrated, it's inclusive, it's balanced. In Telugu, if I have to put it, Samagra, Samikrita, Sammilita, Samatulya Abhiruddhi, Telangana sadhinchindi. Yatla antara, if you ask me, what do you mean, are these all fancy fluff words? Can you back it up? I'll tell you how. I just told you that our agri exports have risen. Our agri expansion has happened by more than 119%. 68 lakh metric tons to 3.5 crore metric tons of production of paddy and procurement. That has happened on one side in the rural areas. On the other side in Hyderabad, our IT exports were 56,000 crore. And as of this year, it is 2.41 lakh crore. The number of people working in technology in Hyderabad was 323,000, 3,23,000. As of this year, it's 9,05,000. We have quadrupled our IT exports. We've also done exceedingly well on agri exports and agri expansion. That's a balanced model. We are less than 3% of India in terms of population. We are only 2.5% of India, in fact, if I have to be precise. But we win 30% of the awards when it comes to national Panchayati awards or national municipality awards. Is that not proof enough that urban development and rural development are going hand in hand in a very unique way in Telangana? Also, let me add, industrialization has been rampant, as Richa mentioned. We've been able to attract marquee investments through TSI pass and a number of things that we do. But not only has industry grown, environment has not suffered. Typically all around the world you would see industry growing and therefore as a consequence environment suffering. That has not happened in Telangana. Industry has been growing rapidly, but environmental consciousness of the leader of the state, of our chief minister, is laudable because under his leadership, today we are the state which has grown the maximum in terms of green cover, 7.7%. 5,13,000 acres of new forest has been created in the state of Telangana, unlike any other state in India. So this is the balanced model I'm talking about. And this is the inclusive society. We have not discriminated anybody. It could be a migrant, it could be a person from rural background or an urban background, or no matter where they are from, which part of India they are from, or which part of the world they are from. They've all been made to welcome. I keep saying this and I can't say it enough. Those of you who cover me are probably tired of hearing this, but nevertheless let me say it. I tell all the investors that I meet, the Hyderabad is that melting pot. Because you mentioned migrants, Richa. Hyderabad is that melting pot. Hyderabad is that point of confluence where the north of India meets the south of India. जब कोई हैदराबाद में एक बिहार से या उत्तर प्रदेश से कोई आदमी आता है, उसको ऐसा नहीं लगता है कि कोई और किसी और के घर आए. आपको ये लगेगा चेन्नई में, कोई चेन्नई वाले हैं तो गाली मत दो. पर थोड़ा चेन्नई में थोड़ा आपको महसूस होगा. विजयवाड़ा में भी होगा, सवांग साहब यहाँ पे हैं, उनको पता है. विजयवाड़ा में भी होगा थोड़ा, but यहाँ पे नहीं होगा. Because everybody feels at home. In fact, growing up, I remember Hyderabad was one unique place where when two strangers met, we used to start off in Hindi. अभी तो ज़्यादा तेलुगु हो गया, बट इससे पहले पूरा हिंदी चलता था, क्योंकि दो स्ट्रेंजर अगर अजनबी मिलते थे, तो हमारी बात शुरुआत होती थी हिंदी में या उर्दू में, दखनी उर्दू, which we are very well known for. Let me also tell you, it is not just a place where North of India meets the South of India. It is also a place where opportunity meets talent. It's a place where dosa meets paratha. It's a place where data sciences meets life sciences. It's a place where technology meets biology. That is why Hyderabad is attractive, and that is why we have to keep it intact in the cosmopolitan fabric that you touched upon. It was imperative that we remain inclusive. We didn't focus on the nonsense that others seem to be hell-bent on, focusing on. Yes, India has many issues. We are a pluralistic society. We are a culturally very, very diverse society. And we are a very, very opinionated society also. हर किसी का अपना opinion है, very strong opinion है, जानता हूँ. But why can't we focus on getting our basics right? जब हिंदुस्तान में बेसिक चीज नहीं है, बिजली नहीं है, सड़क नहीं है, पानी नहीं है, और कई सारे प्रॉब्लम है, उसको छोड़ के यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड पे लगे हैं, कोई और किसी और चीज पे लगा है, हलाल पे, हिजाब पे, बकवास पे. हम बस यही चाहते हैं, हमने ये किया 9 साल में. We focused on none of this. We made sure that the basics that concern all of us as humans, cutting across our divides and everything else that divides us, the religion, the caste, the sex, the gender barriers, the geographical barriers and other things. We did not focus on any of that. We focused on what unites us. We focused on the lowest common denominator, and we got that right. I can give you a number of examples on why, because when Prime Minister comes here to visit Telangana, Prime Minister जब आए थे 2014 में, क्योंकि आपने कोऑपरेटिव फेडरलिज्म की और स्टेट और सेंटर की रिलेशन की आपने जिक्र की, तो मैं बोलना चाहता हूं, हमें भी कुछ उम्मीद थे उनसे. 2014 में जब प्रधानमंत्री बने, वी वर होपफुल कि मोदी जी पता नहीं गुजरात में क्या क्या कुछ करके आए हैं. कुछ एक मॉडल था, एक नमूना था, देश को उन्होंने दिखाया था कि गुजरात में कुछ चमत्कार उन्होंने कर दिया तो पूरा देश में भी चमत्कार हो जाएगा, कुछ अद्भुत हो जाएगा, कुछ मिराक्युलस हो जाएगा. हमें भी उम्मीद था, जैसे सारे हिंदुस्तान को था. But when we started seeing through things, and we supported him, let me tell you, we supported him on a number of things, and some of which we regret, of course. Demonetization, we supported him. Our chief minister called him, he said, what is this decision? Why did you do it? Why are you doing this, ad hoc, all of a sudden, random thing? Why did you do it? He said, हमें संपूर्ण क्रांति की तरफ चलना है. मुझे डिजिटल इस पे चलना है, और मैं आपको उम्मीद देता हूं कि मैं काम करूंगा. This was what he told our chief minister. So we supported demonetization. When he said one nation, one tax, we supported him. We supported him on a number of other things. When he made Venkaiah Naidu ji our vice president, we supported him. We voted for him. We voted for President Ramnath Kovind as well. हमने तो उनका जितना मदद करना था उतना किया, बट उन्होंने क्या किया? एक नया राज्य जो बना तेलंगाना, इसको ना सिर्फ एक बार भी, मतलब he has not even kept one promise that was made in the act, in the parliament. Not even, those promises that have been made, but even the recommendations made by a planning body like Niti Aayog, unfortunately have been completely rejected and negated. Niti Aayog has made a categorical recommendation saying Mission Bhagirath is a fantastic program and that needs to be supported by Government of India. So please grant a sum of rupees 19,000 to the state of Telangana, 19,000 crore to the state of Telangana. Prime Minister and his cabinet did not heed to that advice. Then Niti Aayog also recommended that Mission Kakatiya is a brilliant program. Please allocate and give a grant of rupees 5,000 crore. Again negated, not a single word of appreciation. Prime Minister तो बोलते हैं मन की बात में काफी कुछ बोलते हैं, वोकल फॉर लोकल बोलते हैं, काफी कुछ बोलते हैं, बट पता नहीं क्यों, बट परफॉर्मिंग स्टेट को रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं करना चाहते हैं, फॉर पेटी पॉलिटिकल कंसिडरेशंस, आई प्रिज्यूम. When his own state in India, of which he is the Prime Minister, builds the world's largest lift irrigation project, this Prime Minister does not have the dignity to compliment the state for its brilliant efforts. Now, what more do I say about this Prime Minister and this government? So we have no hope of this union government, and we certainly will take them on, and we will ensure that he is voted out at any cost in the next election at the hustlings. Having said that, we did not depend on the union government, or we did not depend on any of their endowments towards the state of Telangana. We have struggled, we have endeavored, we have we have moved on. We did not look at them at all. In fact, that's why, let me give you a few examples of what we've accomplished. In fact, we are the best rural development model in India with 100% ODF plus villages. Only state that can boast of this. Again, first state to have provided drinking water to all homes and inspired Jal Jeevan Mission. We are the state in India that has completed the world's largest lift irrigation project, Kaleshwaram project. We're the first highest paddy producer in India now, surpassing Punjab, moving from 24th rank to first rank. And now let me also tell you something that might be staggering for those of you who are not connected to the technology world. Last 2 years in a row, we have surpassed Bangalore in creation of technology jobs. Last year, out of the total technology jobs created in India, this is not my data, this is NASSCOM's data. You can cross-check, you can verify. Out of the total technology jobs created in India, 33% were from Hyderabad, followed by Bangalore. But this year, it's even more impressive. Out of the total tech jobs created in India, 44% of the jobs were created from Hyderabad and Telangana. Literally, 1 in every second job that is created in India comes from this brilliant city and brilliant state called Telangana. Let me also tell you, highest green cover growth in India for any state, 7.7%, creation of 5,13,000 hectares of new forest. We are also a top contributor to India's GDP. In fact, like I said, we are 2.5% of India's population, but our contribution to GDP is 5%. We literally punch double our weight. कभी-कभी एक बार मैं देखता हूँ कि निर्मला सीतारामन जी आके आती है, आके बोलती हैं कि हम देने वाले हैं, हम दे रहे हैं, हमने ये दिया, वो दिया. बहुत दुख पहुँचता है. क्योंकि if you go look at the constitution, India is a union of states. And when we have this representative of a federal government coming here and telling us कि हमने आपको कुछ दे दिया, जैसा कि आपने हमें कुछ भी किया, ऐसा कुछ दिया, एक फकर के साथ, एक गर्व के साथ जब कहते हैं, बहुत गुस्सा भी आता है, बहुत ठेस भी पहुंचती है. क्योंकि fact is, Telangana gives more to the country than it gets. For every rupee that we contribute, we get only 46 paisa back. And when we point this, we are called बहुत सारे name calling होती है, उसमें मैं नहीं जाना चाहता, but बहुत सारे चीज बोलते हैं. The fact is, we contribute more to the nation than what we get back from Delhi. Let me also tell you, we are ranked number 3 in India on the ease of doing business. We are certainly the best state with the best industrial policy in India. We are home to India's largest textile park, the Kakatiya Mega Textile Park, by the way, which inspired PM Mitra recently. हमने 2017 में चालू किया था काकतिया मेगा टेक्सटाइल पार्क, और भारत सरकार अभी उठ के आई नींद से और पीएम मित्रा उन्होंने लॉन्च किया. अच्छी बात है. We are vaccine hub of the world. We produce 1/3 of human vaccines. We produce 900 crore vaccines from Hyderabad. Prime Minister साहब बोलते रहते हैं बीच-बीच में कि India is the pharmacy of the world, but he forgets to mention the word Telangana and Hyderabad. उनको याद नहीं आता, but मैं याद दिलाना चाहता हूँ कि 40% pharmaceuticals भारत के हैदराबाद से आते हैं, और 33% of vaccines in the world also come from here. We are the second largest renewable energy producer in India. From a mere 50 megawatts, Ajay Mishra ji will know this well, in 2014, we now produce more than 5,000 megawatts of renewable energy. And if you look at us by land mass, we are the number 1 state in India with respect to renewable energy. We are also the state which is the only state in India which is going to have a medical college and a medical hospital, a government super specialty hospital, in each and every district in the country. And this, again, with zero support from Government of India. We also have a number of other things that I can tell you, but the last thing I'll tell you, अगर कहते हैं कि अगर किसी को बताना है आपको जाके बाहर कि तेलंगाना ने क्या किया, तो आप उनको बस ये बोल दें कि अगर बाकी का भारत भी, the other 27 states in India, if they performed as well as we did, we would have been a 5 trillion economy already and not languishing at 3.4 trillion, as is the case today. So all of this has happened despite COVID, despite the challenges of being a young state, despite many things that were working against us, including an inimical union government. But I'm proud that, our state has done well. But I'm not going to make a tall claim and say that, we've matched the US or Japan or any of these first world countries. We have a long way to go. But certainly, relatively speaking, we are the best performing state in India, no matter what parameter you look at. Education, health, any social development indices, any parameter that you take, we are the best performing state. And I'm a proud partner in the growth story of this state. And I hope and I pray that the lecture that is being organized today in memory of Sri Abhay Tripathi, and for all of those who have attended here, I hope this was informative. I hope this was a few things for you to pick up and probably spread the good word. Thank you. Jai Telangana.